Welcome to Wise Move, where we dive into real estate, real life, and real wisdom. I'm your host, Meredith Buckland, a top realtor in the greater Atlanta area with over 12 years of experience. I have had the privilege to help hundreds of clients navigate their moves successfully, while gaining a wealth of wisdom along the way. As Einstein said, wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it. So join me as I connect with clients, colleagues, and industry experts to discuss market trends, share valuable advice, along with real-life stories that can help make every move a wise move. Welcome back to Wise Move. Today's guest is someone who has been setting the gold standard in home staging for over 2 decades. Krisztina Bell is an award-winning home staging expert and founder of No Vacancy Home Staging and Virtually Staging Properties. She was named one of the top 100 most influential people in real estate staging, and she's transformed the way we present and market homes, both physically with gorgeous furnishings and digitally with cutting-edge virtual staging. You've probably seen her work on HGTV's House Hunters, The Property Brothers, or maybe read about her in the New York Times and Realtor Magazine. She's also an educator helping real estate agents nationwide level up their marketing with CE courses, webinars, and staging tools. So, Krisztina, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
Yeah,
we got it going on today. So
we do, and your background
yes.
is amazing, and I love it. You are came ready to wow us. So, well, we hear all the time that homes sell themselves in a hot market, or maybe staging isn't worth it if the buyers are desperate. So I want to just set that record straight as to why staging still works in 2025. If you can help us with that, Krisztina.
Of course. Now, when the market was hot, obviously things sell a little bit faster, but it does not matter what type of market that we are in. It always is a good idea to do some form of staging, whether it be home staging, virtual staging. There's AI now, but to be honest, I think home staging and having it traditionally staged with actual furniture and decor in the home is definitely the best way to go. It attracts the buyers in person, creates those emotional connections, but also too creates attractive photos online. And that's what really drives the buyer traffic to the property now that we have technology. But I will say during COVID, knock on wood, my husband and I, we worked right through COVID, and that was the best years we've ever had. Believe it or not, even though things were selling really fast, there was still the need for staging. And it doesn't matter. You always want to get that home in its most marketable condition, whether it's vacant, occupied, whether it's filling in with furniture decor. Right now, what you're going to see in the Atlanta market, now that we're in between seasons, so to speak, that's my retail background there, because we would always have transition clothing that comes in between summer and fall. And so right now we're in transition where everybody's getting the kids back to school. And now we're heading into what we call fall season here in Atlanta. And thankfully, Atlanta is still a top 5, top 10 city to move to. There are hundreds of people moving here to Atlanta every day. So there's still the buyers out there. They're just wanting to maybe see that interest rate go down a little bit. But that would be nice. But still, people need to move forward. That's what we keep doing. We want to keep people moving forward. People still need to sell. People still need to move. There are still buyers. So it's just a little quirky time. But as we head into September and October, November, December, I think sales will definitely pick back up. And that's when everybody's going to be needing staging right now. Just as of today, we are officially 2 weeks out now. So if anybody wants to have a house staged, it's going to have to be after Labor Day. There's a mad rush going on right now. A lot of refreshing of properties and such that's happening right now. So
that's such great information to know. I know myself using your company, the differences that I saw between staged and non-staged in terms of market and final sales price. But I would love for you to share generally how you have seen it or what you've been able to track with all the agent experience that you've had on homes that have been on the market, maybe final sale prices. What trends have you seen in that, or data do you have on that?
I mean, right now, I think it's a matter of you got to be smart about the marketing. Maybe a few years ago, everybody was overpricing. They were getting like really great deals. There was lines out the door and multiple offers. Now, it just depends. It's not apples to apples with every community, unfortunately. So, where I live, for example, in Brookhaven, very desirable. There's 5 different schools, there's private schools all close by. It's a family kind of community over here. And so anything, I mean, I literally get a postcard, I feel like, in the mail every day. Are you ready to sell your house now? And I'm like, no, yet. Eventually, but no, it's not for sale yet because there's such desire here. And, when somebody lists the property, it's nicely staged and has a beautiful backyard and is family friendly kind of thing. Usually the houses are selling pretty quickly. Now, not way overpriced right now. I think right now in this market, you need to be smart about your marketing and you need to definitely do staging up front, not after the fact, and you list it. And you need to price it correctly. Look at the comps. You can't be over pricing it at all because it's not going to move. These buyers are very particular. They're going to watch their pennies right now. We just had a big election. This is very typical. Now that you mentioned 2 decades, I haven't even looked at that. I didn't even realize I've been in business that long. I was like, 2 decades. It sounds like
You're
ancient.
very, very young.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that is a long time. So we've been
Yeah.
through the real estate market does its ups
Yeah.
and downs. And so it's going to go back up. It's just a matter of time. And we've had some normalization that's occurred too after COVID. So there's a lot of moving parts going on. But thankfully, again, we're in Atlanta in a big city and we haven't done a lot of this. It's just we're cruising right now. It has its little spurts, but we're cruising. We're just waiting for a little bit more activity. And I think it'll eventually come. We just have to be patient. And again, I think real estate agents just need to understand that every little bit that they do, and I say that all the time, every little bit that you do to make that house more presentable, more showable, more move-in ready specifically, then I think that's going to definitely attract those buyers and get it sold a little faster. Days on market, I wish I could give you, again, it's not apples to apples, but I will say that the staging, we've had something sell literally in less than 24 hours. And then we've had something it took 3 or 4 months to sell. But again, it depends on location, features. There's a lot of factors involved. Hard to pinpoint, but the National Association of Realtors always has stats on home staging as well that people can go to at the NAR realtor that they can look up if they're a realtor, and they'd have a new profile of home staging stats out there. They do it every 2 years. So it's the 2025 profile of home staging that's available right now online, and you can download the PDF.
Yeah. And anything in particular that's jumping out at you from that 2025?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they did some interesting. Now, this is going nationwide to all the realtors, and they do a survey, they get information back. But this is the first time I've ever seen them talk about who actually pays for home staging. Now, this comes up quite a bit in the last couple of years. And this is the first time I've printed out my little graphic here. It says paying for home staging. And the percentages are small right now because this is the first time I've ever seen them ask this question. So this is a new graphic, never before seen in 20 years that I've seen it. Then watching the profile I printed out, I utilize this in my home staging CE classes because I think agents don't realize they can get this info online. So when it comes to compensation, seller's agent said that it depends on the situation, 26%. That they personally offered to stage the home, 23%, and that the seller pays to stage the home before listing, 17%. So overall, depends on the scenario, which I thought was very interesting. And then that's page actually 15 if somebody downloads the PDF of the profile. And then also too was, and this is a new one that I was interested because this is what I talk about in my CE classes. Shop your vendors, look at the staging companies, look at their websites, look at their gallery page photos. Is it going to be the right fit for the property? And hence, this is a new graphic, important factors when choosing a home staging service. So this is telling agents or asking agents, what do they look for? And sellers agents who use the staging service said that the quality of the design was 63%. And the price of the staging service was another biggie, 51%, and were the most important factors when choosing a company to work with. Sellers agents who use the staging service typically received a median of 2 bids before choosing a company to work with, which is interesting because, yes, around Atlanta, I see it more like 3 bids in some instances. I do know that I think banks or people that are moving and things like that in estate type situations, agents try to get three bids. They just ask for it, that kind of thing. So it's good to know what vendors and stagers are in your community and always have more than one or two on your vendor list. That's a big thing that I talk about in CE classes, having a good vendor list, because that's your marketing team right there.
Yeah, for sure. And I can remember, Christina, one of the first transactions that I did with you was back right on the heels of COVID. So we were right in that time frame. I had a seller that went to market. They were moving out of state and they were in that mindset that, hey, the mechanics of the home are in impeccable condition, which they were, but the home had been dated interiorly for quite a while. And that seller was very resistant to removing wallpaper, updating paint, doing anything. And of course, they had their belongings from the 20, 30 years of being in the home. And even trying to do photography when we approached it was very challenging, trying to get the right aesthetic, like you said, because the the pictures that go online, 80 some percent of the buyers are going to
Yep.
decide right then and there if they're going to come.
Yep.
So this home went up. COVID was happening and it was all at a screeching halt at that moment, that particular moment. And they got under contract, but it was a little bit lower offer. And then we got about 1 or 2 days before closing, their moving van is packed up, they're moving out of state, and the buyer fell through. So now we have to go back to market. We have a more desperate seller, a more realistic seller. And he said to me, like, hey, I know you talked about things that you could do. I'm open to having that conversation now. And my background is in design as well. And so I was able to come in and say, listen, I will GC this project. You're going to be out of state. Let's get some updates to the kitchen, to the bathrooms, to the house in general. I'll oversee it, which was challenging because I had crews in there. I
Right.
also had COVID at the time. It was
Wow.
crazy. But
Yeah.
I said, give me 30 days and a set budget. And within that 30 days, we had turned and transformed some of the bathroom, the kitchen, and key areas. We pick and choose like certain areas. I wasn't going to do the whole thing, but on that
Right.
budget, let's paint in this room, let's touch up here, let's change the countertop, certain things that made a difference. And then I wanted to roll it out to the community in an open house. And so I had your company come and then stage this
Yep.
updated but empty home. And the transformation, I need to send you those pictures because the transformation of that home was so dramatic. And when that seller went back to market just over 30 days later, he was immediately under contract and that home sold for 55,000 more.
Yeah.
Based on about 25,000 in updates plus the staging cost on top, which was minimal compared to that. But it was amazing. Like he said, I should have done this.
Yeah.
I should have done this before.
Yeah. We
And
hear a lot of that.
I was like,
Wish
it
I
was a
had
game.
done that at the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
We hear quite
Yeah.
a bit of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because most of those buyers walking in, even then, and more so now, they're not up for the challenge of redoing the house. They're not up for the challenge of investing more money. And they also need that visual kind of idea of what this home can look like that's neutralized or maybe looks like a home that you would go into and a showcase home and you're like, oh, at the builder or whatever, that looks amazing. I want that. And they're maybe not going to have exactly that, but it
Right.
just excites them. So that
Yeah.
open house day, I had people walking around going, can I buy this furniture? Can I buy this? They loved the staging. So to me, that was a huge success story that I had with
Yeah.
your company. And it really showed me the notable differences of
Yeah.
what can be done. So
Yeah. When you do
it's
it right
incredible.
and have an agent like you, not everybody, these sellers sometimes go, I don't understand. Why didn't the agent tell me about staging or recommend this or recommend that? You're telling me to do XYZ. Why wouldn't my agent tell me that? And so I said, every agent's different. It's all about marketing. And some agents, most of the agents that we work with, which are our repeat clients, they know, okay, we need to do paint. We need to do this. They tell their client what to do. And they're either out of state or they make them literally move out of the house. Like, no,
Yeah.
you're buying this house. Get out of here. I want you out because we got to sell it. And I want your furniture out too because we're going to have no vacancy or this XYZ staging company is going to come in and it's going to look fabulous. I need to get great photos, but you need to do this and this. And I think lately, in the past year or so, I have seen more sellers, more owners, builders, and developers to go online and get our instant staging quote. And they are understanding the fact that they are going to have to probably do some things, whether it's an older home or renovating a home. They need to go all out. Sorry, but these millennials are really challenging us. That's the half the market. The other half is going to be your aging baby boomers and estate sales and all that happening with seniors moving out, or mom or dad or somebody has passed away type situation. So that's almost like the other half, because those are the really big houses that people have lived in many years. And so there's a lot of organizing and decluttering and things that they need to do to get that house ready. There's a lot of that going on as well. So there's a little bit of both there. But again, it's just reiterates the value of home staging. You had to do those updates in order to attract that attention, and you actually got over the asking price. Sometimes that's what staging can do, and people don't get it. It's again goes back to that visual thing. You have to try to break it down so that sellers understand, look, it's going to look like this. It's going to look so much better, as well as buyers are expecting that when they open the door and walk in. It can be a lot of work, but I think sellers just want to not stick a sign out anymore on the lawn. That doesn't work these days. And agents need to know that too, because I still see horrible pictures online or a vacant house sitting. And for example, the condo that we staged in a high rise, it's an older building and it was built in 2005, back when the condo boom took place in Atlanta. And an agent had it on the market vacant. It was a 2-2, and it sat for a whole entire year. And so another agent that I just connected with, we did the same thing. We did a podcast together. She got to see a beautiful house. We walked through it. We recorded lots of video. She goes, now I'm convinced. I got to use you. She used this for the first time for this condo, literally under contract in less than 24 hours for over asking price. And that was like, that's it. Oh my God. If that person did it a year ago, they would have saved so much money and not had to pay that mortgage payment for 12 months. That's crazy.
Yes, it is.
So
And
it's another success story, but it does happen, and it's not a $100,000 condo. It's a 3 to 4, and definitely was a first time home buyer, but they saw that it's a nice area in Piedmont, downtown, midtown area, very popular for a younger generation to live. So yeah, I mean, there's stories like that too.
yeah, I'm sure you have so many. I know I used you this last year, a little bit of a transition for my own parents. I moved them out to a senior community. So I needed all of their belongings to be out because my mom could not have open houses with her health. And so moved them. And now I have an empty home. And you and I both know that like an empty home, sometimes the size is difficult to gauge. It looks smaller maybe, or it doesn't appear as well lit. And so I knew with my parents' home, it was smaller, but it just was not going to show empty. And we had done some updates when they moved out, again, some fresh paint and a few updates here and there. And then I had your staging group come in and again, held an open house. It was amazing to hear the reaction of those shoppers coming in to that home, which would have been just a dimly lit space and hard to imagine. And now it was reimagined. And your company even took the little breakfast nook area and turned it into a keeping room and just gave some new possibilities to that home.
Yeah.
And that home for my parents was again under contract within days in a time when the market hitting into 2025 was a little bit slower, but they were off with multiple bids, strong presentation. And again, I credit it to the staging and the impact that first impression gave them. And so my parents were successfully within just weeks, moved faster than they wanted, but moved and their home went for top dollar. And then a neighbor down the street repeated that because she saw the success on my parents. And when I told her, hey, I use this staging company, this is the result. She was all in and had the same result with the market in a time where we weren't always seeing such fast in bidding wars or anything. She received the same thing. And I credit it again to really good staging and that first impression that got out there. So
definitely all about the marketing. And you mentioned a lot of benefits of staging right there. One, it gives buyers a way to envision how to lay out space. Two, it can actually add value to a home and maybe give it a higher appraisal value. People don't think about that part. And then it does help when we bring furnishings into, because we do a lot of homes, especially one area of town that we do a lot in, 40 to 50 houses at least a year is Decatur. And all those homes are not huge. Some of them are only 2,000 square feet, maybe under 3,000 square feet. So when we bring furniture in, it actually makes rooms appear larger too. So people think, oh, no, I don't want to put any furniture in. It's going to make the house look smaller. It's the reverse of that visually. And so that's another benefit. And then, as we mentioned before, it's that first impression, not only at the curb, but it's more online. It's those web impression, I should say, because it is where everybody goes to is online. And it's all about the photos. And agents here in Atlanta with the first multiple listing service, they can post up to 200 photos, which sounds crazy. But when it's a huge luxury home, there's people that do 100 and some photos. But everybody wants to see the outdoors. The exterior spaces are almost becoming just as important as the interior, too. Don't forget about that. Especially here in Atlanta, we have seasons. They're even more important. And now people are expanding some of their living spaces, even to go outdoors into the patios and such. So again, the photos are so important. It drives the buyer traffic, especially online, and makes it more attractive. But also, like I said, you could tell a story. You're seeing more people doing video. Come walk inside the house now with me and look at the beautiful living room and the fireplace and this and that and all the features. And then look at the dog park and the community and the pool and this and that. There's a lot of ways that you can take advantage of the marketing now with all this technology that we have, the drones and the videos and such. It just makes a huge difference, especially with a lake house or farmhouse or mountain house. And I love it. I love all of it because I'm a marketing person. But again, it just goes back to every little bit that you do helps. You want to make it look fabulous. Those first 2 weeks when you got it listed are like crucial.
Definitely. And Christina, could you explain a little bit, because you have both virtually staging and you have your in the real furniture staging type. Can you explain your staging process a little bit and then what goes into setting the perfect stage for success?
As far as home staging goes, typically how we like to do is we like to work together with our clients, again, as part of your team. And so it's a really customized type approach. I will say that our big technology savvy game changer has been our instant staging quote tool, which is online and everybody loves it. Now, it took a lot of training, but nowadays we get at least 50 to 100 quotes a month. And that sounds, oh my God, that's crazy. I wish we could stage all those houses, but we don't. But we do a staging a day. But when those quotes come in, we usually follow up. I'm usually the one that calls and checks in. Do you have any questions? Do you want to meet with one of our professional home stagers, come out to look at the property, which we usually do before we stage anything. We want to take pictures, measurements, and notes. And so they love that quote tool, especially agents, because they can get a quick quote or at least a guesstimate on the way to a listing presentation. And I tell you what, even more and more every year, we get people that are actually, they see the quote and they go, looks good. Look at our gallery page photos on our website, and they literally sign. And I don't even know who they are yet. And so they've already signed a contract in less than a minute, literally. Thank you, COVID, for helping us advance our technology. But I think we're the only ones that have such an instant staging quote tool in the nation. There are other type of quotes and pages that people have on their website, but ours is pretty advanced and we love it. And it's been working out really well to make things go a little bit faster. And so sellers want to move on. Maybe they're out of the country. It really does help a lot for international. Believe it or not, there's a lot of international, not only real estate agents here in Atlanta, but there's a lot of international investors and owners here in Atlanta too. And some of them just own properties and maybe they decide to sell. It's a way where they don't have to be here. They can sign, and we have links to all of our forms, and it can be done on a phone. It doesn't even need to be at the computer. It can be done on a laptop, iPad, whatever. So it makes it very convenient. And so once our professional home stagers do go out to look at the property, we obviously want to talk with the agent, or maybe it's a builder, because we do work with a lot of new construction. There's still a lot of building happening here in Atlanta, all the way around outside the perimeter, even further down south near the airport areas. Still got the entertainment industry here is booming still. Basically, we're talking with the agent or possibly a builder seller and asking them, what are the features of this home? And specifically with the agent, what's the target market? What's the price point? We want to know in order to make sure that we stage the home accordingly, not only to the style of the home, because We'll cater to that, but we want to make sure that we make it warm and inviting and so that it appeals to the broadest range of potential home buyers. We don't want to get too specific. But at the same time, if it's something of a target market that's more younger, then of course we'll use more current hip type furnishings, somebody more, maybe a little bit older, maybe a family. We still want to make it more warm and inviting. And then as you can see, lots of modern contemporary style homes are being built in between other traditional style homes. So this new contemporary modern type approach has been hitting Atlanta for the past year or so. We get it, but people feel like they have to put modern, square, very contemporary style furniture in those homes. And I tell people, you'd be surprised how many modern homes and contemporary style homes I walk into and they don't even have modern furniture. So that could be misleading. But I tell people, how about we just take a soft contemporary approach? It's not too hard lines, but it still makes it feel family oriented. And so that's where our premium package comes into play. We offer a couple different packages for different homes and price points. And then really it's just a matter of bringing in a little bit of texture, pops of color. That's what shows up really well on camera. And we want to make sure you get good photographs out of it as well. Besides the fact that we'll be clearly defining the rooms, as you mentioned about the room, the breakfast nook, and making it more cozy. Instead of putting a table and chairs, we put a couple chairs and a side table, made it look more lounging kind of area. There is more of that going on. There is almost this more casual style of staging that's happening a little bit that I'm seeing trending wise because we're seeing more earthy paint colors coming into play this year. You're going to see a lot of that going into 2026. Have you seen the paint colors of the year coming out? They're earthy greens and more earthy tones. So it'll be interesting to see. There's Sherwin-Williams, Benjamin Moore paint colors of the year will be coming out soon in the next month or so, as well as Pantone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in 2026. But I still feel like there's this kind of more cozy and more relaxed kind of staging feel that's happening. I don't know. It's a trend maybe I'm seeing, but we want to be careful because we don't follow what's trending. We do want to follow what's trends that we might see in the future. So we have to be a little careful with that. But in the end, we're obviously defining the room, staging the main areas like a living, a dining, a kitchen, a master bedroom, primary bedroom, and then the offices and sunrooms and extra bedrooms are extra costs, of course. But believe it or not, we actually had first time requests for yoga room, meditation room. So could be some things you might see trending or in future wise you might see as we head into 2026 as well. But the staging is going to obviously show off the features of the room or features of the home. That's what it's there to emphasize, but also create an emotional connection with buyers when they walk in. Like you said, when they came to your open houses, people are like, oh, wow, this looks fabulous. It gets their mind thinking of, I could really lay out the room this way, but there could be 5 different ways you can lay out a room. We're just going to lay it out one way and show you how to utilize the space. But I'm sure people, when they live in the property, might arrange it differently. And so home staging, bringing the traditional pieces of furniture in, we definitely recommend. And it does make, as you said, a huge difference. Now, there is also virtual staging that you mentioned. Now, virtual staging, my husband and I actually pioneered it in 2008. We did not pioneer it to replace home staging. It was to help offer another alternative to staging because at the time, nobody had any money to spend back in 9, 10, and 11. And they're like, we can't do $2,000 or $1,500. Is there anything else you can do for me, Christina? And so we ended up coming up with the virtual staging and the first ones to introduce it. And that's how we ended up in some of the major newspapers and magazines at Realtor Magazine. And everything was very curious about this. And it worked, actually. And so virtual staging, what we came out with and presented was just digital placement of digital furnishings and decor into photos of a vacant home. We were not going in there and painting walls and changing out the floors and doing all this kind of stuff that you can do with AI now. You have to be very careful because I'm a real estate agent and we want to follow the code of ethics. And we explained this to NAR as well, and they got it. They understood. They're still not talking too much about virtual staging that much. It did show up in the profile of home staging, I will say, just 2 years ago. So there is people that are using it. They've been using it for a while. It's just they don't talk about it that much. And now that AI has come about in the last year or two, there's more talk about virtual staging. Is it good? Is it bad? And a lot of the virtual staging companies have changed. Some have gone out of business. Some don't do it anymore. AI is going to take over, but AI is not perfect. It
Right.
can sometimes make things look like, wait a minute, it looks like the part of the kitchen island is missing over here. Yeah, it doesn't really see the whole image. So you have to be really careful with that. You can get it really cheap. You can do virtual staging now for so cheap. We still do virtual staging. We still have the virtually staging properties.com website. We still do it nationwide. We have some dedicated agents that swear by it. It's not for everybody, obviously. Some people like it, and then some people are like, I'm not sure. The approach that I like to take is that I think it could be used together with home staging. If it's a bigger home or exterior spaces and you have a full basement that could has like maybe a media room or exercise room and all these other rooms, then those are rooms that could be virtually staged. Whereas the main rooms of the house on the main level, the living, the dining, the kitchen, and the primary that we normally stage and that everybody typically stages would be traditionally staged, but maybe the rest of the house and some other rooms would be virtually staged. So you could technically combine the two services together. To me, that makes it most effective from a marketing perspective, because then you have more attractive photos that you could post online. You can even show before and after as well. You have up to 200 opportunities of photos to post on FMLS. That's where the virtual staging can help you. But I really tell people to make sure that it says virtual staged in your private remarks and that you use it correctly and properly to follow along the lines of the code of ethics rules. And that's just my opinion. Now, I've seen some pictures that don't look like they should be on it.
Yeah.
So we shall
Oh,
see.
yeah. I
It's
totally
still
agree. And
developing.
yeah. And I would say, especially the danger is if you have those rooms where they walk in and they're like, the walls aren't this color. This isn't the floor. They've just seen it all redone. So you need to make sure that they really understand what they're getting when they get there. Within that, when you go into most of these homes, like for my sellers, I've helped them, select a neutral paint, get, hey, if we're going to refresh, if we're going to neutralize, let's maybe choose these colors. But for you, when you go into a property that maybe has not been neutralized in that paint regard, how difficult is that? Or can you overcome that? I'm sure you can. But what would you suggest, or are you suggesting to those agents and maybe sellers to consider in some of those spaces where color might be competing against them?
Believe it or not, just yesterday, talking to an agent. She doesn't practice a lot, but she has her own personal home on the market. She's like, Christina, help me. I don't understand. There's these other houses. They're 1.6. Mine's 1.3. I have a beautiful acreage. I've got farmhouse, and others have full stables. And this is way up in Canton area. And I said, let me take a look. What are these other comps? And they were all neutralized inside, all same paint color on all the walls. Very farmhouse, chic-y farmhouse feel. Some were even a little bit more modern inside with some modern light fixtures, even though it was still farm stable, literally barn in the back type of thing and horse stables and everything. And I looked at her photos and I said, yours is really cute. Shows it just could go one step further. Like, it's almost like you did a great job, that I'm thinking now that those others are under contract, those comps will go away. So that's a good thing. That's in your favor. They'll pop off. Nobody will look at those. Now we got to focus on how to get your house to look like a 1.3 or 1.4 that you're asking, because she's getting people that are saying her house is not as new construction as the others, but it's neutral in some areas, but it wasn't in all areas. I'm like, we need some consistency here. And so because she's still living in the property, I actually advised her to contact one of my stager friends who really works more with occupied homes versus me. I deal with vacant. But I said, listen, if it was me and I was standing there doing a consultation with you, there's some things that I would change, because it doesn't look like you're getting bad feedback. It's just they're being a little because they're comparing you to new construction. So you're going to have to raise the bar a little bit. Maybe take off some of the toile type drapery that you have in that blue wall in your kitchen and do it the same alabaster that you have throughout the rest of the home. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I know conversations sometimes with sellers will go, well, I don't want to have to do that. I just let them pick what they want on the other side. Well, most buyers
Mhm.
coming in have so much on their plate. They don't want to do that on the
No.
other side of the expense. So if they walk in and it's just a fresh neutral color that can kind of kick the can down the road, so to
Yep.
speak, and then they can add some accent colors to it. I remember one new construction home that my husband and I bought. It was back in a time frame when the market 2008 when the market was just kind of going into a weird cycle. And this new construction had been sitting there. I didn't like the paint color, but I can see beyond that. And I just told the builder, hey, we want it painted this way. So we went under contract. It had been sitting there for, I think, maybe 6 months. And at that point, he started repainting it. And when we walked back in, of course, I loved the new color that I picked, but they said that so had so many other buyers. They'd been walking through the home. And even though they were now under contract, buyers were now saying, oh, I love this home. Oh, I want this home. And I believe it was a simple switch of the color that
Mhm.
just set that home apart, showed off the great woodwork and all the accents of that home were just, it was inviting. And maybe people don't know what they don't like when they walk into it, but it can be as simple as the paint. And then as a seller's moving out, just a fresh, clean palette that
Yeah.
is just clear and ready for them to start. So
Yeah.
love that. I love that you also have all those paint ideas and color choices available
It was like
out
the
there.
first pages we added to my website, and literally like Sherwin-Williams had done a paint chart for me, and I put it up on our, I was like, oh, I'm so excited. I'm going to get this up on our
Yeah.
website. And literally the next day, this young girl had a condo and she went, oh my gosh, I went to your website and I didn't know which gray color, but I saw your paint chart on there and I went, okay, that's the color. I went to the Sherwin-Williams paint store and told them this is the code number and they made the paint. She's like, I painted my condo. So now what do I do? I think I'm ready to stage. And I'm like, oh my God, I just put that up like yesterday. She's like, that helped me
She's
so much. And a lot of people say the same thing. I've had another woman who's like, I couldn't decide between this color or this color. But when I looked at your paint chart, it said this color. And I went, okay, that's the one I'm going to use then. And it definitely helps a lot. And hence why I started the paint CE class to teach agents. Like it's not too hard. Don't be scared. Here's paint colors you can suggest so that you
yeah.
look knowledgeable when you go into a listing presentation and can tell your sellers and feel confident that, these are the paint colors and these will neutralize the home. And they understand a little bit better how paint, like we just talked about, makes a huge difference. And it's been a fun class. I actually have
Yeah.
paint class coming up next week. And believe it or not, Sherwin-Williams, I have a great, all into collaboration marketing, as you know, and I have a great relationship with Sherwin-Williams. They now have a new designer account executive. I've been through a few of them, but I get to meet them for the first time ever. Nobody knows who they are yet. And I've been able to meet them up front personally. And any leftover marketing stuff that Sherwin-Williams has, they like put it all in a box in a bag and they ship it to me or I go pick it up from them. So I get to hand it all out in my classes and agents love that. They like all the freebies and it's been a lot of fun. And there's some events coming up that we're going to be doing and sponsoring with Sherwin-Williams here in Atlanta too. So, you
I
know
love
me, I
that.
like to collaborate a lot. We're actually doing an event next Tuesday for EXP agent and Keller Williams, EXP, Realty One. I'm doing so many different things. Compass has had me out at their offices, and it's been a lot of fun going to the different brokerage firms and either teaching my home staging C class or paint C, or just come speak for like 5 minutes and talk about the benefits of staging and here's our number and hopefully you'll call us. And it's just a great way to help agents with their marketing and getting those homes sold a little bit faster. Don't let them keep sitting. I mean, don't lower the pricing. You're killing the comps. I hate when
Yeah.
they have to do that because I know I've had my relationship since 2003 and my broker would be like, Christina, will you just drop the price on it? Like, no, I don't want to drop the price on it. Why can't I sell it the way it is? Um,
Sometimes it's not always, I tell my clients, sometimes it's not always the answer. You're in a certain market and there's just so very few buyers out. It
right.
doesn't even matter on that. But what does matter is that standout home,
Yeah.
that one home that's going to grab their attention and get them to go, I need to act now. And so getting it in just prime, beautiful display condition is so valuable. I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about some of your CE classes, because I know that has changed so much of the way the agents approach staging, giving them confidence. But
Mhm.
what all classes are you able to offer or have you been offering? And just maybe give us a little more information on that.
Sure, the home staging CE class I've been teaching for almost 10 years now, which is crazy. And had Sherwin-Williams come speak at the beginning. Literally, I think my first, pardon me, class might have had only 2 people in it. And I was like, I need practice. And then I kept further developing it, further developing it. Believe it or not, I actually do have this somewhat similar course that's going through an approval process right now, again, down in Florida, believe it or not. It was approved 2 years ago, but Florida's tough. You have to
Yeah.
go and literally reapply your class again to have it be approved for another 2 years. So I just literally finished uploading all my paperwork to the Board of Education, not the real estate. This is the Board of Education in Florida. Yes. The home CEC class has been very informational. It's a 3-hour CE class for real estate agents. And I've even had designers come take the course, even stagers, other staging companies come take the class. And there's a lady who's moving up here from Florida, and she literally flew into Atlanta just to take my class and visit some friends and such. And I was like, oh my God, because she might be moving here to Atlanta and she might do real estate. She may do some volunteering, but the home CDC class has been so much fun, get to meet a lot of people and then provide information. We talk about the benefits of staging. We talk about statistics, obviously paint colors like we just talked about, same ones, pricing, what type of services that stagers offer, our instant staging quote tool. If anybody just wants to get a standard quote, you don't even have to use me and my company specifically, and just the procedure and process of how it works. And then at the end, it's a fun part. Take all that information and look at before and after photos, like what you mentioned. I got to send you these befores and the after because it's a huge transformation and they get to see what I'm talking about. Okay, this is what the house looks like brick, and this is what it looks like painted, or this is a house that was renovated. They ripped out the carpet. Here's the hardwoods, or here's literally, a vacant room, but look how it looks when you just give it a coat of paint on the wall. So I try to show a lot. It's a lot of before and after pics that represent everything that we talked about in class. Of course, I got to leave the fun stuff for the end so that everybody's like taking pictures. They get their phones out and they're like, oh my God. And then they give back criteria and any comments or questions along the way. And then, of course, I always get people to follow me on our social media because I do have a lot. I do some webinars. We talk about design trends. So we do have a design trend webinar coming up, I believe in October, November. And I teach a paint CE class. And so that's only been 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 that I've been working on it. Thank you to Sherwin-Williams. I learned so much through them that I literally went to their website and it was like going to paint school. I spent a long time developing the course, but utilizing the same objective that we do in home staging. So same thing, benefits of painting a home to sell, statistics about paint, and then also tips for painting the inside, the outside, and making sure to pressure wash and things like that. And then again, ending with a before and after so they can see how paint can really make a big difference, particularly exterior of a home and interior of a home. The nice thing too is that, believe it or not, I've had the actual Benjamin Moore representative come take my paint C class, which was like embarrassing because I was talking about Sherwin-Williams the whole entire time. I'm like, don't worry, you're fine. And I'm like, are you sure? She's, yeah, but I'll bring you some samples. And so that's where I now have a relationship with Benjamin Moore because at the time I did not. Also too, I had some paint color consultants actually come to take my class because they wanted to know what type of paint colors that we suggest for houses to sell, because they might have that come up or maybe when they're out in the fields. And coincidentally, I made friends with them. And now they actually speak at some of my classes to talk a little bit more about paint. And so there are services where there are paint consultants that will come out if you need a little bit more, because there is some instances where you may have to paint a house and that gets tricky. What type of paint color do you do the exterior? And there's some rules there. And also too, you want a paint expert. See, a real estate agent's not going to be able to maybe go that far, but yeah, they do provide services just like a staging consultation, similar, but it's just a paint consultation. and they can help with that selection of paint colors inside and outside. So I learned a lot, and it's always fun because, believe it or not, there was one paint C class that I had, and there was a couple in there, and I didn't even know who they were. They just signed up for the class because they wanted to know what kind of paint colors just in case before they sell their home. And they were just very interested. They stayed the whole entire class. It was an older couple. They just were curious. And so I have some interesting people that take the paint class. It's a little bit different than the staging. So I leave it open to the public. I don't mind. People need to be more knowledgeable. And thankfully, I love Sherwin-Williams. They have over 100 stores in Atlanta. So you can visit pretty much any Sherwin-Williams down the street.
No,
And
they're
yeah,
fantastic resource. And like you said,
yeah,
I've used them even for exterior paint color for a client where, we obviously have to have HO approval, but
yes,
we have the colors. We send them the house, we send them everything, and then they'll jump online with you and literally look at the home and be able to kind of give you some good trim color and main
yeah.
body of the house and the accent. So they're a valuable resource.
Yeah, they have a great
And I
app, the
love
Color
that.
Snap Visualizer app
Yeah.
that they have and use. Yeah, and they can match
Yeah.
paint colors a lot better than going to a Home Depot or Lowe's for sure.
No,
So
I
I love
love
my
that.
collaboration with them. As I mentioned to you, collaboration marketing is kind of my thing. I have a relationship with California Closets as well. So paint class next week will actually be at the California Closet in Vinings, or I think so. Yeah. And we also collaborate with a local nonprofit as well. And that's very exciting because we're in our 5th year, and we are actually going to be working on a design project to decorate a home for a family coming out of homelessness. And we're very excited about
Yeah.
it. Yeah. It's Furnished with Love is the name of
Okay.
the organization. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to hear more about that as we wrapped up because I know that you collaborate so well with vendors in the community, but even through your charitable work, which
Yeah.
is amazing. I mean, I it's exhausting hearing the list that you do. I mean, I don't know how you keep up, Christina, but you have a lot of energy, but you also have a heart to give back. And
Yeah.
this Furnished with Love, tell us a little bit about that as we wrap up today.
Yeah, 20 years of running a business. And before that, I had my own business since I was 27. I didn't know anybody in Atlanta. And I've met so many wonderful people over the years, very welcoming here in Atlanta, obviously coming from Florida. And I just wanted to give back. And a real estate agent had mentioned this new organization about 5 years ago to me. And I went, it's on my goal list because every year I have 2 or 3 goals that we try to achieve. And it was just the perfect fit. And the founder, Kathleen Kelly, I met with her. And then I started to say, how about taking these C classes that I teach and taking some of the ticket sales and put toward raising money for the organization every year, as well as I ended up being an honorary business marketing consultant for them too, because right now we're actually starting to get sponsors. I've helped them get sponsorships with small businesses, and also cross your fingers. We're hoping that Furnished with Love will be selected as the organization for the Atlanta Real Estate Association to have for their fundraising event in 2026. She is one of 3 contenders that we'll see. We're hoping they get selected. That's a big deal. That would be almost close to a $20,000 donation to them to help with a purchase of beds. And so Furnished with Love, in a nutshell, is basically decorating homes for families coming out of homelessness. And they do about 15 to 20 homes a year. So designers, but also real estate agents. I've gotten some brokerage firms to go in as a team and decorate a home. They have a designer that kind of helps them with that. And they get to meet the families. And sometimes it's a mom and kid, sometimes it's a dad. And they're coming out of different situations that are very difficult, domestic violence, alcoholism. You just don't know. But it does not matter what you do. You could just make it look pretty and homey, and they will take whatever because you're creating a place for them that's a safe place for them to feel comfortable and live in. So we do a living room, a dining room, and we do bedrooms, and it's fun to do with the kids. And some of them are teenagers, some of them are little babies. And this year, as I mentioned, it'll be my 5th year. So just this past weekend, we met with the family. So it's a mom with her, I think it's 5 or 6 kids, but they don't all live at home because one's at college. But there's about 2 or 3 teenagers. And again, mom is asking for a meditation room, which I thought was interesting. And a barista bar set up for her tea, matcha tea. And I'm like, okay. They're getting very sophisticated here. And then the teenagers are so fun. They want the kind of pinks and the kind of loungy neon, all that fun stuff that kids want. And the boys, of course, their gaming thing is all very popular. So it's going to be a big project because they actually have a house down in South Atlanta, but it's a lot of fun. In fact, after this interview, I'm going to shop the warehouse, so to speak. So Furnished with Love gets many donations from the Atlanta America's Mart, and they also get donations from the Atlanta Decorative Arts Center at ADAC. Those are their two big feature partners, as well as me. My company, No Vacancy Home Staging, is the third. I make a lot of donations. My back of my SUV is packed right now with lots of artwork because we're upgrading every year. We upgrade a lot of our furniture and decor. We got to stay current and hip. And in 2026, we're doing a major update with our packages. So stay tuned for that. And so a lot of it I donate. Some of it goes to Goodwill, but they can't take furniture at Goodwill and things. But Furnished with Love does accept furnishings, gently used and pieces like that, based in Decatur. She has a beautiful building and 2 dock-high doors, and she got really lucky. Her husband and her bought the building. He can use it for his law offices on one side. She's got it for her warehouse, so that's where I'll be going. And we're very excited because it's like HGTV show. It's a big reveal day. It's like you start at 9 o'clock in the morning. We have to be done at 4 o'clock, and there's time. I'm going to have a lot of volunteers for this house. Yeah. We're very excited, and it's so fun, and it's a tearjerker, but it's very rewarding in the end. And
I can imagine, and the lives that you're changing because of that is so valuable. And this has been an incredible conversation, and your expertise and passion for helping agents and sellers succeed is amazing. I personally benefited from it. I know it works and works well. And taken your classes, I've had you, but I love even your heart for others and how you're giving back and all of that. And you're really changing lives and directly impacting them. So thank you so much for doing that and for making a difference in our community. And I want listeners to know like how they can find you and connect. So if you're able to share some, that'd be great.
Yeah. So again, Krisztina Bell with No Vacancy Home Staging. And believe it or not, we actually now own the domain name stagingatlanta.com. We're going to be pushing that in 2026. Not a lot of people know we have that, but we'll be marketing it full force in the new year. Again, goals that we're doing and some new stuff, that upgrading furniture packages as well. But right now, you can always follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I even have a YouTube channel as well. And it's my name at Krisztina, but it's Krisz as in zebra, Tina, Bell, B as a boy, ELL. Krisztina Bell is where we have all of our marketing there. Now we do have No Vacancy Facebook page at No Vacancy Home Staging, and at stagingatlanta.com. Check out our staging quote tool if you want. It's literally takes 15 seconds. You get it in the email, and if you're curious about staging a home in today's real estate market. So thanks for having me.
Love it. Yeah, thanks. And I hope to have you on again. I know there's market trends and state trends. So we have plenty of conversation for the future. And this was a wealth of information. So thank you again, Krisztina.
Thanks so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Wise Move. I hope today's episode provided you with the tools and insights you need to confidently navigate your real estate, community, and life journey. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and please share this podcast with friends and family who are making their own moves. Stay connected for more real estate insights, and remember, every great move starts with a wise move.